Despite having only dropped For All the Dogs just a little over a month prior, Drake has already made his return with a brand new project, Scary Hours 3. And in true Drake fashion, he wasted absolutely no time going after people on this record. From rekindling long-standing rivalries that have been simmering for years, to some genuinely surprising subliminal shots at people you might not have expected, Drake managed to pack a serious amount of disses into just 6 tracks. The density of targets on such a short project really says something about where his head is at right now. So if you're ready to break down every single artist Drake took aim at on Scary Hours 3, let's not waste another second and get straight into it. The very first diss we're going to examine actually came before the album itself. It was delivered in the form of a trailer Drake dropped ahead of the full release, where he said the following.
I know I can disappear for 6 months, a year, 2 years, even though I'm not into the super lengthy disappearances for the sake of mystery. Now that line is clearly a shot directed at artists who have built their mystique and public image around being intentionally elusive and hard to access. But it goes much deeper than just a surface-level jab. When you start narrowing down exactly who Drake would be targeting with a comment like this, who in the current rap landscape has cultivated that specific kind of mysterious, low-profile energy that Drake seems to take issue with, the list gets pretty short pretty quickly. And while there are a few names you could throw out there, one of them can likely be eliminated right away. After Drake sampled Frank Ocean on the intro track Virginia Beach, it would be strange for him to turn around and fire shots at someone whose work he quite literally used to open the album. You don't bite the hand that feeds the vibe.
So, once you remove Frank Ocean from the equation, there's really only one prominent name left who fits the description and who Drake would have a genuine reason to take a shot at. And that, of course, is Kendrick Lamar. Now, Drake and Kendrick subtly poking at each other through their music is nothing new at this point. It's been a slow burn going back years. But what's been shifting more recently is the nature and direction of Drake's disses toward him. These days, Drake seems less focused on attacking Kendrick's artistry directly and more fixated on calling him out for his deliberately limited output and his relatively private, out-of-the-spotlight lifestyle compared to Drake himself and most other mainstream superstars. Drake has been living in the public eye consistently and has already dropped 5 projects just in the 2020s alone, so it's not entirely surprising that he'd use that contrast as ammunition. But the real question worth asking is whether any of this is actually justified as a criticism. At the end of the day, Kendrick Lamar operates creatively in a completely different way than Drake. He is methodical, deliberate, and deeply intentional with every single thing he puts out, and that approach has consistently produced some of the most acclaimed and culturally impactful rap records of the past decade. The two just have fundamentally different philosophies about what it means to be a working artist. That said, maybe this latest shot will be the thing that finally pushes Kendrick to clap back in a real way and fully ignite the beef that these two have been quietly fueling since Kendrick dropped Control back in 2013. Is it likely that we see a full-blown, all-out war between them at this point in their careers? Probably not. But this almost certainly is not the last subliminal we're going to see thrown between the two. Now, moving on to the artist who received the most dedicated bars on the entire project, and that person is Kanye West. But the real question worth asking is whether any of this is actually justified as a criticism. At the end of the day, Kendrick Lamar operates creatively in a completely different way than Drake. He is methodical, deliberate, and deeply intentional with every single thing he puts out, and that approach has consistently produced some of the most acclaimed and culturally impactful rap records of the past decade. The two just have fundamentally different philosophies about what it means to be a working artist. That said, maybe this latest shot will be the thing that finally pushes Kendrick to clap back in a real way and fully ignite the beef that these two have been quietly fueling since Kendrick dropped Control back in 2013. Is it likely that we see a full-blown, all-out war between them at this point in their careers? Probably not. But this almost certainly is not the last subliminal we're going to see thrown between the two. Now, moving on to the artist who received the most dedicated bars on the entire project, and that person is Kanye West. On the track Red Button, Drake clearly came in with something to prove when it came to Ye, and he absolutely went for it. Drake made a direct reference to Kanye with the line, "Every time that Yeezy called a truce, he had my head inflated, thinking we going to finally piece it up and get to levitating." But beyond that single bar, it's clear that Drake built the entire first verse of this track with the specific purpose of dismantling Ye's credibility piece by piece. Lines like, "Leave your label devastated," are a direct reference to the very public collapse of Kanye's Good Music label, an imprint that has seen key departures like Pusha T walking away, and a general erosion of its cultural standing. And the line about never hating even when you pad the stats is a callback to when Tidal was exposed for allegedly manipulating and inflating the streaming numbers for Kanye's The Life of Pablo. But among all the jabs Drake was throwing at Kanye on this track, the lines that are most likely to genuinely get under Ye's skin are the ones where Drake essentially declared Taylor Swift as the only artist on the planet he considers a worthy competitor. The deliberateness of that move is hard to ignore. Taylor Swift and Kanye West have one of the most famous and publicly documented conflicts in pop culture history, so Drake choosing to elevate her as his benchmark while simultaneously diminishing Kanye is a calculated 2-for-1. And layered on top of that, Drake essentially said that even when he and Kanye dropped albums in the same release window, like when Donda and Certified Lover Boy both came out in 2021, Kanye's presence didn't move the needle for him one bit. That is a very pointed statement to make to someone with Kanye's ego, and I would not be at all surprised if Ye addresses this directly once he gets his own upcoming album across the finish line. And it's worth noting that, according to rumors circulating at the time, Drake actually made the decision to release this project and really lock into his more lyrical, aggressive mode, specifically because of the comments Joe had made. If that's true, it's a little ironic, because even if the goal was to prove Joe wrong by coming harder lyrically, the fact that Joe's opinion motivated the whole thing arguably gives Joe more credit than Drake intended. Regardless, Drake went after him on the track. And it's worth noting that, according to rumors circulating at the time, Drake actually made the decision to release this project and really lock into his more lyrical, aggressive mode, specifically because of the comments Joe had made. If that's true, it's a little ironic, because even if the goal was to prove Joe wrong by coming harder lyrically, the fact that Joe's opinion motivated the whole thing arguably gives Joe more credit than Drake intended. Regardless, Drake went after him on the track Stories About My Brother with the line, "Imagine us getting our validation from an ex-musician searching for recognition," which neatly takes a shot at both Joe's music career and his media career simultaneously, essentially calling both of them cries for attention. Whether you agree with the sentiment or not, it lands as a sharp and well-constructed bar, and it has a real chance of pushing Joe Budden back into the booth if he decides he wants to respond. Shifting now to a beef that's arguably one of the most storied and complex in the history of hip-hop. On the track Wicked Man, it feels very much like Drake is openly daring Pusha T to come back for a second round. The specific bars Drake used on this track directly reference and flip lines from Pusha T's devastating diss record, The Story of Adidon, arguably one of the most lethal and personally damaging diss tracks ever released in rap. Pusha had famously said, "OVO 40, hunched over like he's 80, tick, tick, tick. How much time he got? That man is sick, sick, sick," targeting Drake's longtime producer and close friend, 40, who battles multiple sclerosis. Drake now throwing those exact same lines back at Pusha in a reversed context is an aggressive and pointed move, and honestly, from a technical standpoint, it's pretty clever. That said, the claim that Pusha T is broke reads as a pretty hollow and easily disproven talking point. A quick search will show you that Pusha T's net worth sits around $14 million, so the broke angle doesn't really hold up under any scrutiny. And calling his career a statistic or implying that he's faded into irrelevance is equally difficult to defend when you look at the actual data. Pusha T's most recent studio album, It's Almost Dry,
debuted at #1 on the Billboard 200 and received a Grammy nomination for Best Rap Album, which by any measure represents some of the most successful and critically respected years of his entire career. So while the specific factual claims Drake is making here may not carry much weight, the spirit of the diss, the willingness to go directly back at Pusha T with the same energy, does signal that Drake is not letting this beef quietly fade away.
And if the goal was to stir the pot and provoke a real response from Pusha T, this is probably Drake's most serious attempt at doing so yet. Now, shifting to one of the more unexpected targets on the project, Drake also threw a brief but pointed jab at 6ix9ine with the line, "Y'all the type to catch a charge, head to the deposition, and act like the rapper named after the sex position." Admittedly, that's a pretty well-constructed bar, and there's a certain creativity to how he framed it. When you think about where 6ix9ine is right now as a cultural figure, struggling to stay relevant, desperately trying to claw back any kind of footing in the rap world, burning bridges faster than he can build new ones, getting called out by name in a Drake project, even negatively, actually does something for him in terms of visibility.
It hands him a platform and a potential inroad for a response that could put him back in conversation. Whether Tekashi actually does anything with that opportunity or not remains to be seen. But knowing his tendencies, he's probably not going to let it slide quietly. Drake, though, almost certainly won't lose sleep over whatever 6ix9ine might say back. Now, one of the more peculiar and honestly somewhat confusing disses on this album appears on the track The Shoe Fits, where Drake seems to take yet another subtle shot at Rihanna with the line, "What happened to selling real estate, where all that was gone?" It's vague, it's pretty weak as far as disses go, and it honestly just reads as further confirmation that Drake has not moved on from that relationship emotionally. At this point, Rihanna has 2 children with A$AP Rocky. She is clearly in a completely different chapter of her life, and no amount of coded subliminals on a Drake album is going to change that reality.
Also on The Shoe Fits, Drake dropped another line, "Meanwhile, that person out in my city effing on women," which a significant portion of listeners have interpreted as a subtle jab aimed at The Weeknd. While the wording stops short of being an outright confirmation, the reference to my city makes the Toronto connection pretty obvious. And given the history and underlying tension between Drake and The Weeknd over the years, it would not be out of character for this to be directed at him. It's one of those lines that is ambiguous enough to give Drake plausible deniability, while still landing with the people it's intended to land with. And then, rounding out the album, and arguably one of the most unexpected targets on the entire record, Drake also took a swing at NBA player James Harden, using a few bars in The Shoe Fits to reference Harden's well-known reputation for spending significant time in strip clubs, while also poking fun at his on-court performance since joining the LA Clippers, where at the time of this recording, he had gone 0-6. What makes this Harden diss particularly interesting from a behind-the-scenes standpoint is the fact that Scary Hours 3 was executive produced by Kevin Durant, who just so happens to be one of Harden's former teammates and someone with a famously complicated relationship with him going back to their time together in Brooklyn. Whether anyone involved will come out and explicitly say it, the presence of Durant's name in the credits alongside bars targeting Harden feels like more than a coincidence. It adds an extra layer to an already layered project. So there you have it, every single disc Drake packed into Scary Hours 3. And when you step back and consider just how many targets he managed to hit across only 6 tracks, it becomes clear that Drake came into this project with a very specific and aggressive energy. Whether any of the artists on the receiving end, particularly Pusha T or Joe Budden, decide to actually respond and escalate things further, will be one of the more compelling storylines to watch unfold in hip-hop going forward. If you want to stay current on everything happening in the Drake world and in hip-hop more broadly, make sure to subscribe. It genuinely helps and it costs you nothing. Thank you sincerely for watching and for the continued support. This is Mr. Fantastic Hip Hop, signing off. See you in the next one.